Mr. Pittman, what's up with you?
Oh, things are good. Things are good.
Oh, okay. I know football normally on, but being a boxing head, you know what I'm saying? I said, hey, it's nothing better than getting some Inoue talking, and I've been doing my homework, you know what I'm saying? So we can get this series going like we did, when Inoue got those, when he went and got that WBC and that WBO in the lead up. But I want to talk a little Inoue talk, man. You up for it?
Yes, sir.
Now, I know we had watched the Tapales versus Mirjan Akhmadaliev fight, and on paper, we're gonna get into what some of the things that Tapales said, which I kind of like the guy reading what I read about him. We're gonna get into that, but like we watched that fight initially. Before hearing anything I got to say in my research about him, like, did you see anything that jump off the page when it comes to Tapales?
Well, going up against Inoue, he didn't show me anything that makes me believe that he's going to truly be a threat to Inoue in this fight. I believe Inoue's skill set, his ring knowledge, his foot movement, the power he have in both hands, I think he will be able to overpower. And he does not appear to me to be that elusive where he can just slip multiple punches. So I think Inoue, with his punching ability and his ring savvy, will be able to pick them apart. I really believe that.
Yeah, in my initial look, I didn't really see anything. I just said that he is kind of rugged. He is the type that I guess after 12 rounds, taking those punches, you might feel some effects after 12 rounds, because I do see that, to give him some credit, he seems like he's durable and that he will let his hands go. I don't think that it's going to be a problem with him, not engaging. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't see anything like, I didn't really see too many flashes of brilliance. And, me, I was looking for, I'm not gonna lie, going into that match, I was looking for MJ to do his thing. Like, it was kind of like, nobody really want to say it, but that was like an upset to everybody, because everybody was looking at Inoue and MJ. That had been the talks. Those were the rumblings, you know what I'm saying, with Inoue letting his intentions be known. But nothing jumped off. But let me tell you, in this article I had read a while ago, we were supposed to do this episode a while ago, but I had took some notes on it, and I was looking over it, and I'm like, man, this is a good little time to start, getting into this. But he won the IBF and the WBA off of MJ back in April. He's been at super bantamweight for 5 years now. And a little bit about his philosophy, he's one of the guys that say, look, man, he said it ain't about the ABC belts. He basically saying it's not about the ABC belts and this and this and that. He understands that it's all about beating Inoue. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think about that? Like, the fact that he say, look, even though my what I utilize to get to Inoue, it don't really matter about the belts. It's all about beating that guy. So to me, I'm like, okay, it's a level of respect, or he actually recognized that Inoue is that guy. What you think about that?
Well, he has to, because coming into a belt, this isn't something that he has established and he has had over a period of years, wherein he will look at it that his belt actually means nothing. So he's just really getting into the major leagues when it comes to being a belt holder. But based on Inoue's career, this will be his biggest fight to date, and more than likely it will probably be his biggest payday also. So based upon that, the belt, I would say, that he owns, he feels is secondary, because if he can get into this fight and he can win, his markability is gonna go up. And not only that, he will own more belts. So this is an important fight for him, and winning this fight for him is more important than anything, because this will perpetuate his career into a whole different threshold, because just winning this fight would set him up for another rematch, which will more than likely have even a bigger payday. So winning is everything for him right now. It really perpetuates him to where he want to be on the boxing stage.
Yeah, I think this fight, I mean, like everybody else, you know what I'm saying, if you get in the ring with Inoue and you able to upset the apple cart, man, I mean, you know, your name gonna be in lights. You're gonna be the talk of the town. Much people try to diminish and undermine what Inoue's doing. It's crazy how some boxers know that he's that guy, but you know, others just utterly dismiss it. But the role that he's taking on, he believes that hard work is gonna pay off. So he believes that he just, if he can work hard, he does embrace the underdog role. From what I read, he kind of, it almost seemed like he kind of relished in being that underdog, and he's like, hey, look, man, me coming in not being the favorite, that don't bother me at all. You know what I'm saying? In his championship bout at bantamweight, it was four knockdowns in that fight. He got dropped twice and still won that fight. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying this guy, he's probably a pestering guy. Like when I say that I like knockout artists, it's not because I like people that just go in like how Berlanga was, you know, for his first however many in the team fights, where he was just mulling people over and just beating, you know, knocking people down, and knocking people out. But it's something about skilled boxing knockout artists to where it's like once they figure you out, you know what I'm saying, they process that data, and it's like, look, man, I already know what's going on. I'm not gonna take any chances. I'm gonna go ahead and end this contest. And this guy seems like one of the types to where if you don't figure him out and get him out of there, he's so durable. And like I said, he's gonna try to just, you know what I'm saying, hit you, and try to overwhelm you or get in the decision by volume of punches. But let's get into some of the things that he said as far as like his keys of victory. For one, he says, yeah, they say Inoue is the complete package. So that's one thing. So he recognized what everybody else saying, but it leads me to believe that he don't really believe that. And I'm like, because we never see weaknesses, and I always ask you all the time, it's like, we know all boxers ain't perfect, you know what I'm saying? We know our favorite boxers, but this guy says that he believes his opportunities would be counter punching and throwing combinations. He believes that he has the natural size advantage because he's been at super bantamweight for 5 years. So what he's been doing is he's on record saying he's been sparring bigger guys and embracing the fact that he's going to have to be able to absorb bigger punches. So that's why he's fighting these bigger guys, to be able to absorb bigger punches. And he said that Inoue's opponents often give him too much respect. And that's about it. But that's what he's saying. Like, what about these weaknesses and some of these things that he actually spoke of?
Well, he say there are weaknesses that he's probably going to attempt to exploit, but I don't know what those weaknesses are. You know, in order to exploit weaknesses, you're going to have to come up with an offense that is so complete that you expose these weaknesses. And you have to also remember that when you are trying to exploit your opponent, sometimes you are the one that can be countered. Because what he's saying is, in so many words, he's going to mount such an offense that he's going to be able to overcome Inoue's aggression. And because he's the bigger, he believes, stronger fighter, that he will be able to absorb Inoue's punch and will be able to come forward. Now, as a fighter, I like to hear what he's saying, because you have to come into the fight with a game plan, and you have to be confident about your game plan, because if you're not, you're going to be hesitant. And if you don't pull your shots and let your hands go, you take away an opportunity with your aggression. So as far as a fighter go, I like what he's saying, and he's got a positive attitude. It sounds to me he's not coming into this fight timid. So therefore, it's going to take that type of attitude to counteract what Inoue is going to do. But we're going to have to see if he's going to be able to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. The proof is going to have to be in the pudding. But, you know, from everything I read, they say the man been fighting since he was 8 years old. And it was out of lack. So kind of like the hard lifestyle to come up, like fighting for money, and you know what I'm saying? And so it was out of lack. But he been fighting for a long time. And I'll give a positive about what I'm hearing about some of the things. Is at least he was willing to actually say some of the things, because a lot of times strategically, even though he's not giving much away, counter-punching combinations, that's not giving a lot away, like what he's going to do or what he see. But the fact that he actually speaking to a game plan, because it's oftentimes, even here recently, when I heard my guy, man, Shushu Carrington, the one I call the specialist, a young up-and-coming contender, he was like, he would expose Inoue, and, you know, it was the same, like, mindset, which I think is a dangerous mindset at this point in time. And I found myself online just putting a little bit of bird feed out there when I see these kind of comments when people talk about Inoue, because everybody's saying the next guy would actually expose Inoue, and at this point there is no exposing Inoue. Like, you got to think about where he started and what he's gained. Like, at this point, it's him daring to be great, or somebody having his number, which more than likely, if somebody do have his number and, like you said, is able to win, it's going to be a rematch. But at this point, I think people got to stop saying hype job and expose, because by definition, it's like you can't really expose him. He's done. This is the 5th weight division. He's getting ready to be double undisputed in about 13 months approximately, and that is legendary. So at this point, any loss he take wouldn't be exposure. It'll be like, oh, okay, well, you rose to the occasion. The big bright lights wasn't too big and all that. But he too is looking at Inoue like he's looking at him like he's human. And he speak to the point about what he said about Inoue's opponents giving him too respect. Because for me, I don't think Inoue opponents give him enough respect. A la Fulton with the hype job statements and coming in like, yeah, we bigger, we badder, you know what I'm saying? Look, we done beat 10, 11, 12, 13 champions, you know what I'm saying? This and this and that. I don't really see that. But do you think Inoue opponents don't, do you think they give him too much respect?
No, I don't. I think that each fighter that goes up against Inoue actually believe that they have a shot of winning. Okay? Now, if you are a professional fighter and you go into a championship fight and you don't exhibit the confidence that you can go into this fight and you can win it, then you're already at a disadvantage. You're going to hold back. So, in a championship fight, you are in it to win it. So therefore, your language, your body language, everything is supposed to suggest that you're going to go in and you're going to defeat this fighter. So you can't give your fighter but so much respect, because if you do, it will make you gun shy. Opportunities that you do have to prevail, you hold back on it. But in a championship fight where everything is on the line, you have to come prepared to fight. Nobody's just going to give you a world title. And especially against a champion like Inoue. In order to walk away with a victory from Inoue, it's not going to be handed to you. You're going to have to display it in the ring. So therefore, if you come into this fight and you are timid and you're giving up too much respect, you're going to put yourself behind on points. And you don't have to win a fight by knockout. You can lose the fight because you didn't have enough productivity. So, as a fighter going into a championship fight, you have to plan to fight your opponent and that your productivity will overpower his. And that ultimately you can come away with the victory. But if you are too gun shy and you're not taking advantage of the opportunities that present itself in that fight, then you are allowing your opponent to take the initiative.
Yeah.
And what you don't want to do is get behind with Inoue, and now you're moving in because you have to stop him to win the fight. Because now you are in a predicament that could be uncomfortable. Because Inoue is such a good counterpuncher. So you're going to have to fight Inoue from the beginning and try to keep this fight even. So
yeah,
that's what I see when you fight Inoue. You can't give up nothing. You have to try to keep this fight even going into at least the championship rounds.
Yeah, I think for me trying to put two and two together, since he said counterpunching and combinations, and I'm thinking about, well, what is he going to try to do? I think he's going to focus on work rate. My concern for Tapales, and everything I've seen on him, is that Inoue is one of them guys where if you don't really have nothing to keep him up off of you, it's a downhill battle. So I think them first two rounds, maybe the first round might be a fill out round, but unless he's one of them guys like at the lower weight classes, it kind of be harder to tell. But unless he's one of them guys that through volume would just wear you down, I didn't really see anything that he had that would keep that would keep Inoue off of him. But when I was looking at the MJ fight, it wasn't a stoppage, and it wasn't really. It was a little bit of rock'em sock. It was slightly above rock'em sock'em is what I saw, and I was like, well, if you're gonna let your hands go that much, Inoue is like a surgeon, and he's all about time, and he'll recognize some of them patterns and where you at when you get done with this and how you like to throw this. And once throw that curveball at you, once he put that curveball at you, he started, attacking where he knows where your weaknesses are. And I really didn't see anything that Tapales had that would keep Inoue off of him. That's how, my initial glance. I'm going to go back and look at some more, but I think he's going to try to do this with work rate, which is kind of dangerous with Inoue, because he'll make you miss, and he definitely going to make you pay.
Yes, and, Inoue's ability to be able hurt his opponents with either hand, that can be a detriment to a fighter, because in many cases a lot of fighters tend to be dominant with a particular hand when coming to their ultimate power shot. But with Inoue, it has proven time and time again, whether he hit you with the left hook or the straight right, both punches can be damaging. So therefore, you have to have a defense that is good enough to elude his left and right hand. So therefore, your work is is going to be cut out for you what you have to do. And you may have a plan, and it was so eloquently said by Mike Tyson, and it was so true. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And you know what? It's funny and we laugh, but that might be one of the most true statements when it comes to professional boxing. Because a fighter who can stick to his plan after he gets tagged, that's a special fighter. Because most fighters, when they get hit, they go on the retreat. And then all the offense, it tends to be out, it's gone for that moment. There's been one fighter in particular that was so excellent that when he get hit and you got him, can fight back. And that was Evander Holyfield. He was remarkable when it comes to fighting after you get hit. But you don't see many fighters that had that dexterity like Evander Holyfield. So most fighters can't do it once they get hurt. Most fighters, once they get hurt, they just trying to survive.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, but because I don't want to sound cliche, but since we try to keep it all the way a buck, Floyd. When Shane Mosley almost sat him down, it looked like he bloodied his nose. Like Mosley came straight down the pike, and it was like, oh, everybody, you could see the crowd, like everybody was like, everybody took a gasp. And after that, it was a whole different ball game. I think I seen the same thing with Zab Judah. Floyd was kind of good at that too.
Oh yeah, Floyd was good. But see, what Floyd didn't do is when Floyd got hit and he took a good punch, Floyd would grab you and tie you up, not allowing you to get in the second punch or get off combinations. So his ability to tie you up is another ability that Floyd Mayweather had.
Yeah.
And right when you think you got him hurt, you come in, he smothers you. He makes sure he gets time to recoup. You don't hit Floyd with multiple combinations or multiple punches. What happened in that particular fight, when he fought Mosley got off a good punch. He stunned Floyd. Floyd kind of grabbed him, got his composure, and then he got hit again. And once again, Floyd tied him up, grabbed him, got his composure back. And as he got back into that fight, the round turned around. And the fight started to turn around. Because even though Floyd was hit, he never lost his ability to think and to know what to do as a fighter to get out of being into any type of trouble. And Floyd just a remarkable fighter.
Let me ask you something. Do you think that the fight with Nonito Donaire, do you believe that was the fight where Inoue faced his biggest adversity?
Well, come on, people, you have to give Donaire his props, okay? The man is a Hall of Fame fighter, okay? So he was going to bring something to the table, okay? And he brought something to the table. It was a tremendous fight. And what people fail to realize is that, yeah, Donito was 40 years old, but Donito was the champion. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like Inoue was just taking an easy fight. The man was world champion when they fought. So therefore, he was defending his title, and he showed why he was worthy of having a title. Not only that title, this man's career is a Hall of Fame career. He put up a valiant fight. But we all have to remember that in that fight, even though he put up a good fight, he still lost that fight by a unanimous decision. And he got dropped with a body punch later in that fight that kind of solidified it for Inoue. So I can't take away anything from Donaire. He put up a valiant fight. It was a tough fight, but he lost that fight by unanimous decision.
Yeah,
and he was given a rematch, and rightly so, because the fight was worthy of a rematch. But the rematch, it was nothing like the first fight.
Yeah, I was just, you know how when we look back and we say, oh man, you know how when a lot of time when we're pegging, the skilled ones, and we trying to, sift through who's skilled and who's not, we always say, well, we ain't see them face no adversity yet. Well, we ain't see them get cracked yet. We don't know if they could take a punch. We don't know, because a lot of people were saying that about Shakur. Like, man, we ain't never seen them crack. You know what I'm saying? We seen Devin crack. We seen Tank crack. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what people were saying about Boots. We ain't never seen him crack. So I was speaking to the point, like, because I was saying, all right, well, anyway, which fight would I say he faced his biggest test? So that's why I went to the Donaire fight, because that's the one that I draw from. Like, I don't know, but that's why I was wondering if you had, or did you see another fight where it was like he faced bigger adversity and actually having a broken, something broken. You know what I'm saying?
No, fight. The first fight with Donaire was a big test for Inoue, because leading up to that fight, Inoue had such a tremendous KO record that he was stopping everybody. But he didn't stop Donaire in that fight, but the fight was a good fight. And he scored a knockdown in that fight, and he won it by unanimous decision. So it was a good fight for him. He fought a good fighter, a well-deserved fighter to be at the position that he was at. Because even though Donaire lost that fight and he lost the second fight, he's still going down in the Hall of Fame. And see, sometimes people want to discredit the accomplishments of a fighter in the midst that they suffer a defeat, as if what they did in their career now, because you lost the fight, means absolutely nothing. I don't look at it that way.
Me either.
Every fighter, if you fight long enough, or you move up in weight, and you keep moving up only because you win, and because you wanted this, you move up to another, and then you win, and you move. Eventually, you're gonna move up to somebody that's gonna be a brick wall for you. And if you do lose a fight, doesn't mean that your whole career has been a scam. No.
Yeah, that's the mindset here lately. To segue into a little bit of that. I was a lot of the criticisms. That I be hearing for Errol. And stuff. I'm like, see, this is why it's. As a fan and having voices, we gotta be cautious of some of the things that we say, because I'm the type, I give Nonito all due respect for his career and what he was able to accomplish and this and this. Now I just say that, man, Inoue is a bad man. But then I've heard Nonito, I've heard his peoples talk sometime, and they kind of like discredit the dude, like, oh, well, he was just. I'm like, see, I'm giving Nonito all the glory for what he was able to do. It's undoubtedly. And then for him to do that with Inoue, he's the only one. That's why I say, that's the fight where I say he suffered the most adversity, but a lot of people take away from that victory. They're not pan over, because we give the Donaires, we give them all this respect and let them talk. But then I pan over to the conversation around Errol Spence, and I'm like, at some point, once some boxers achieve so much, I kind of see why they start moving a little different, because the minute they suffer defeat, they gonna act like, you know what I'm saying, like you wasn't as great as you are. You know, it was it for the younger folks or I guess some contemporaries, that Beyonce song, she was like, hey, you know, I said yes to this and this, but the moment I said no, it's like I never said yes. It's like I was a champion all this time. I was the one going around picking up all these belts. Yeah, I took a loss. I didn't even make any excuses. But this man is super great, and this man ain't anything. Like, even with Fulton and what he had going on, we didn't just go all on him. You know what I'm saying? We said, oh, well, you know, maybe, you know, he can get back. And we talked about ways he can go up to 126, try to head him off again and get a belt, get something that'll be, you know what I'm saying, something that Inoue might want, since we project or traject Inoue into going up there. But in today's day and time, like how people were talking about Regis, how people talked about Tio after the bad night with Kambosos, after beating Lomachenko, then he bounced back, fight Josh Taylor, get that dub. Regis, he come back, he stopped Zepeda to get his, and those are tough fighters. You know, when champions suffer a loss, man, it's like this present day and time, it'll get misconstrued like they have no respect for you anymore. And I'm like, that's not fair to boxers. And don't be mad at boxers once they achieve a certain level and then they start doing like what Bud doing right now, like doing stuff for the bag and their families and all that. Because at the end of the day, if they take a loss, you know, we're gonna treat them like they ain't anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. You know what? You mentioned something about Errol. And I saw something on the internet. Now, I'm not saying that it's true, but it was an interesting topic. And it was said by Showbiz. Now, I don't know where Showbiz got his sources from, but he said, coming into that fight, we all could look at Errol, and Errol just didn't look right. And this is what he said. I don't know whether it's factual or not. He said that during training, Errol Spence suffered a broken rib. And Errol decided that he did not want to delay this fight. That he was going to go into this fight without any delays or postponements, and that he went into this fight after suffering a broken rib that he didn't allow to properly heal. Now, I don't know where Showbiz got that from, but that's the first time I heard that.
Well, see, I was kind of like being on code. I was kind of like being on code, and I wasn't really gonna say. I was like, man, shoot, since Earl ain't said nothing. But the rumblings was that Earl, excuse me, that Earl suffered a broken rib, and he didn't spar for like 6 weeks, and that his timing was off. But then having that rib, you know what I'm saying. But Earl the type where he wasn't gonna say anything. Now I think we kind of like, you know, in a roundabout way, we kind of brushed around the fact that Earl, and this was my opinion, this was my original opinion, this is the opinion I still stand on to this day from looking at everything, being the big, you know what I'm saying, one of the biggest Spence fans in the world. It got to a point to where Earl had missed out on a bag because he got left at the altar when Bud went and got that David Avanesian fight. He was looking like, man, this is my dream. This is all I want to do. I want to get this out the way and then get out the way and go to 54. And like I had originally said, I thought that him, Marl, and Mel and Marl were going to move up lock in step. Well, Bud pulled that. And so now in the boomerang effect of Bud coming back, he's like, well, look, I can't move now. Like, I got to take this. And I believe that when he sustained that injury, much like when I said the writing was on the wall, because Earl has shown this, and somebody can prove me wrong if they want to, much like when he suffered that retina injury, there are reports online saying that Errol was still going to try to go through with that fight. He went to 2 different doctors, and he was going to fight Manny Pacquiao at that time, because Manny Pacquiao went on to fight Ugas, and Ugas wound up, you know what I'm saying, you know, doing that damage to him. But he was still going to push forward with that fight. So Errol, in his demeanor and his stubbornness, he was going to push through with that fight. And since this fight was so lucrative, that's why he gave up so much. When you think about the coin toss, you think about how the announcements was made, all that extra negotiating, when he had the majority of the pie, Errol was not going to allow that opportunity to fight for that belt slip through the cracks. And largely in part because he lost a lot of money waiting on Bud. So he wasn't going to do it. And then since he did it, he real enough to say, hey, look, he wasn't going to get up there and be like, hey, man, what would you do? You know what I'm saying? Well, it wasn't my fault. I went out and collected the 3. I'm waiting on this one little one, and he playing games after all this time. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't going to let that bag go. And since he was man enough to get in there and do that, he was man enough to stand up there and say, no excuse. Let's run it back. You know what I'm saying? And that's just it. So now, just like, you know, I gave the John Benet Ramsey case, like when John Benet Ramsey happened, it's like we knew that the parents had something to do with that little girl, you know what I'm saying? But they let things go long enough, due time, to where when the truth finally come out, it really don't matter. So now, when it come out that Errol really had the rib, you know, broken rib, you know what I'm saying? People are like, oh man, come on, man, you just trying to take away. It's like, no, the truth is the truth, and that is Errol. And that's why that happened. But I still don't think that warrants a lot of the disrespect and the overboardness that they go about Errol, when he was the one, according to Terrence Crawford, was the one that actually made that fight happen. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they don't treat champions like that. So that's why I try to be, I respect the champions when they go out and get it, and the ones that's really going for legacy. But right now, we in the era where 1 minute it's all about legacy, and the next minute it's about the bag. Or, you know, I can win this and I can go take a victory lap. And look, this is one of the main reasons why I bring it all the way back to Inoue. I don't hear Inoue saying, oh, I just undisputed, let me go take a victory lap and go pick up this bread. No, Inoue is like, I just got undisputed, let me move up to this next division, grab 2 belts, and then, you know what I'm saying, if I'm successful, then I'm gonna come right back around and then grab 2 more to become undisputed again. I don't hear about those victory laps.
Yeah, well, Inoue is doing everything that we as a boxing fan want to see a fighter do. And so far, he has been successful. And because of his success, you know, I'm really pleased to watch him in his bouts, because he has such a dedication to the sport. And I realized maybe 3 or 4 years ago that this guy is going to be someone to be reckoned with, because you know how long I've been an Inoue fan. I've been an Inoue fan when a lot of American fight fans that's not really hardcore fight fans didn't even know who this guy was. Mm-hmm. And I would tell people, I say, listen, go on the internet, and I would write his name down so that the spelling, you would have the exact spelling. Mm-hmm. And I say, go and just watch this guy's career and watch what they have on the internet and just watch his ability to fight. And if you are a fight fan, you're gonna be really enthused in watching this guy perform, because this guy, he's just a ball of dynamite, man. And he's got it in both hands, and he's got the speed, the footwork. I knew that this guy would be a force to be reckoned with in the boxing world. But did I know he was going to have the success that he had moving up to all of these different weight classes? He is still amazing me with what he's doing. And I just hope that he has success and that all the naysayers, you know, he will just accomplish so much that even if he was a naysayer, it would be nothing left for you to say.
It's not really right now, you know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, you just, it's a dead horse, man. We know, you know, some people got agendas, man, but when you a boxing purist, man, you can't look at what he's able to do, especially if you had this man on your, if you had one of the opponents on your pound for pound list of his and he stopped him, but this guy's, you know, still a hype job and he's not all that, then I mean, I'm not gonna sit up here and argue, because from afar people ain't gonna know who the fool, you know what I'm saying? But to wrap this up, man, I know that the fight in itself, you know, with Shakur the other night, that's really not a topic. But the landscape of 135, real quick before we get out of here. What do you think about the landscape of 135?
Okay, at 135, what fight do we really want to see? Okay, now, if you was to ask the average fight fan, what fight do you want to see at 135? It more or than likely would be Shakur against Tank. Okay, now, if we don't get the fight with Shakur and Tank, what I would like to see, I would really like to see Cruz fight Shakur, because I think that would be a good test for Shakur. You know, you got some people who think that Shakur don't want to get hit, you know, that he plays it too cautious. But I would really like to see that fight at 135. And if we can't get that fight, I would like to see Martin fight Cruz. But I don't think that's going to happen. Unless, of course, Devin's belts are vacated and that they can fight to try to establish one of those belts that would be out there. But because Shakur is the champ right now, he has a belt that somebody's going to come after. And if Pitbull can't get the fight with Tank, then he should try to get the fight with Shakur. At least it will be a title shot. And if he could come away with a win, that could almost possibly solidify the fight that he really wants with Tank. But this might have to be a two-step approach for him. He may have to go after Shakur first, because I don't know if he's just going to get this fight with Tank right off the bat.
Yeah, because it was rumblings about, Tank and Isaac Cruz again, but in regards to Isaac Cruz, I know he was dead set on fighting Tank. I think mainly because of the big payday, and then he is only the second guy to go the distance, with him. So that was his obsession with trying to get back in there. But now I'm thinking with Shakur having a belt, because before to Pitbull, somebody that was vying for, to try to beat the best or try to climb up, Shakur didn't really look that appealing to him from his stance. He's like, man, I want to fight Tank again. Now that Shakur got a belt, I don't know if that opens up a possibility. I mean, it is, the cross promotion, and we don't know, platform wise and how all that stuff is happening. But yeah, let me ask you this: what do you think about Frank Martin? Let's just say Isaac Cruz is not in the mix. Like, what would you like to see him do? Because we both were in agreement that, the opportunity that De Los Santos had could have been his. I mean, we saw the fight and we know the results, but, I thought that was a missed opportunity. But what you think is going to go on with Frank?
Well, it's difficult to say what's going to go on with Frank. Until Frank gets out and publicly indicate what direction he's going to take with his career, we don't know. We all standing back waiting to see what Martin is going to do. But I do believe that if Devin leaves 135 completely, okay, if he does, Frank Martin will get an opportunity for a belt. Because if Devin vacates, that's 3 belts out there. And that could be what Martin is really waiting for. Because if those 3 belts become open, Martin is going to get a title shot. The question would be, with who? And Martin is not saying anything right now. So, I don't know what Martin's team got on their mind, what plans they have. But I do believe they're waiting for these belts to be vacated before they make their move on trying to get one of them.
Yeah, I'm perplexed with the Martin thing because Martin is one of my guys too. You know what I'm saying? I rock with Frank Martin, man. I like Frank Martin, man. I've seen what he was able to do in the amateurs against Virgil Ortiz. He was a late starter, but he's an older gentleman. And I'm concerned with him, and I put my foot in his team shoes, and I'm like, I don't know what I would do with Frank. They would know better than me, but I'm like, if you had an offer like that and we gave it to you and we accepted it on your behalf, and then you look at it and you say, nah, I'll be scratching my head like, well, what do you want to do? Because in all essence, what we gotta really recognize is that Frank is one of them high risk, low reward fighters. Frank is not somebody that you just stick anybody in the ring with. Frank is not one of them guys that's like, oh man, I'm gonna get it off. No, Frank has been developed. Just like Gary Antoine Russell. He's fought this style, he's fought that style, he's had to overcome adversity. He does body work. He's a southpaw, he's fast, he has power. Good feet. I think the purest of boxers might give him problems, especially if they have a reach advantage, but Frank has shown that he can overcome adversity. So, for me, looking at Frank, I'm like, dang, you had this deal on the table for the belt. That wasn't enough bread. But you're an older guy, you high risk, low reward. What is his options? Because people are not just hopping in the ring to fight. They're not lining up to say, I'll take Frank. They're not. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they're vying for the top of one of them belts. He got a Williams Zepeda. He had walked down on Williams Zepeda respectfully and tried to get it on with him. I think Williams Zepeda is going to be in the mix. Isaac Pitbull Cruz is going to be in the mix. Lomachenko going to be in the mix. I wouldn't mind seeing a Frank and a Lomachenko. That would kind of be acceptable if I were to talk about a Lomachenko. But I'm thinking him or Jermaine Ortiz. But Jermaine Ortiz, he's looking for one of the belts. I think he's going to be tied in with some kind of Stevenson. But I think Lomachenko and Kambosos is supposed to get it on. But Frank would have to get a Kambosos, a Williams Zepeda, a Lomachenko, Isaac Pitbull Cruz. I think realistically, that's what he would have to get, and it'll probably be for one of them titles. And it might be somebody I'm missing. I haven't went down that road. I just, from you and your perspective, I just wanted to see how you thought about 135. And it's like Tankers is sitting there. He darned if he fight Cruz again, and if he don't fight Shakur next, they're gonna make up all kind of stuff. But I'm like, with the performance the other night, what I look like out here jumping over landmines and grenades, that's probably the best skill for skill fight that we can have. But realistically, Shakur say he's not out of his deal with Top Rank until next year. And then we heard Bob, I seen a little thing about Bob saying, do we know if we'll even want to keep him? I just hadn't did my homework on it, but I just wanted to get a brief synopsis on what you thought about 135. I'm just looking at all the different divisions, and just to put it on record, that guy Diego Pacheco, he's at 168, a young guy, 22. Man, the dude look like a real problem. He just sharing the same division as David Morrell, but for this dude to be 22, he put on the clinic last night, stopped his guy. He's over there. That's one of Eddie's young superstars because he got Richards and Hitchens. I know Regis and Devin and all them over there. Eddie been kind of when he ain't on his European thing, he's building up fighters. So I just wanted to put that out there because I'll be checking for Diego Pacheco. If you haven't seen the highlights for that, go back and look at that. But that's all I had. I just wanted to get some Inoue talk out there, man, because we, you starving our fans, man. I know they fiending for that Inoue talk, so I had to get you back on.
Yes, indeed, and it was a pleasure to talk about it. Because he's such a tremendous fighter, and for anybody to, doubt his skills or attempt to diminish his skills, I think it's just a discredit to the sport. Because if you are a pure boxing fan, you got to recognize his talent. And if you don't, then what is the landmark you're setting for a fighter? If Inoue doesn't plateau as one of the elite fighters out there, then I don't know, what scale you are using to judge a fighter. The only thing I could say scale you're using is your bias to North American fighters, be it a American or a Mexican. You don't want to expand your vision overseas to look at the great fighters. You're just so tunnel visioned in, and you have blinders on to believe that North America is the only continent that can produce a world champion of Hall of Fame pedigree. So, it's to each his own, I guess.
Yeah, but that's an easy checkmate on them, because you turn around. That's how you put them in the trick bag. All you do is bring up either Tyson Fury, Better BF, or Usyk. You bring up Usyk and Tyson Fury, that conversation goes to kaput, because everybody have Usyk. I'm like, first of all, heavyweights they're not supposed to be on the pound for pound. Like, yeah, we can recognize, but the fact that he did what he did at cruiserweight, went to heavyweight. They bring in all that undersized conversation, even though I didn't hear about those undersized conversations when it came to Evander Holyfield and Tyson. When it came to heavyweight, heavyweight was heavyweight. They don't belong on the pound for pound because heavyweight is heavyweight. But you smash any way, when you want to really put them up, and you really want to put that gauge on them and see, if they, all about that BS or not, you just bring up Usyk and Tyson Fury, and then they'll get this stumbling and staggering. So, we recognize foreign talent every day, all day. Somebody like Bivol. We'll recognize that Better Beer. We'll recognize that Usyk, Fury. But if you over here and you're not giving Inoue no credit, we know what it is. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna do the same thing like the last series we had. On the Inoue Fulton series. We're gonna do the same thing on Tapales, and Tapales knows English. So he speaks in English, and he seemed like a funny guy. He seemed, straightforward, but we're gonna do the same series that we did with Inoue and Ford. So we're gonna do the same thing for Inoue and Tapales. So I'll be shooting you some things, and if some things come up that you want to talk about, just let me know, and we'll be right back at it.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
All right, well, enjoy your evening. Good talking to you.
Yes, sir, and you do the same.
All right, peace.
All right.